Did you know that I'm a coach and I'm a teacher and I'm not a marketer? So if I forget to say like my video, add a comment, and subscribe to my channel, that's because I'm not thinking about it. So don't forget, like my video, add a comment, and subscribe to my channel. And of course, the reason I'm saying this is because I always put out good stuff. I can even dance. Oh yeah, woohoo. And I could sing, woo. I'm actually a very good singer, if you really want to know. That's right. So you might as well like it and comment and share it, because you never know what you're going to do. Nope. You never know what I'm going to do on one of these things. Hi everyone, this is Linda, and I'm not sure if I'm live right now, but I wanted to do a really quick live. It wasn't planned. I'm planning on doing one on Wednesday. But I've sent an email out recently to some friends to ask them how they're doing, how they're really doing. And, when you ask someone, how are you? Most people will just say, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm okay. But when you really care about a friend, and if you're listening to me live now, it'd be nice to see that you're here, that you're listening, so you can write your comments and say hello. When you're asking a friend how you are, and you add an extra question such as, how are you really? You don't really know what the other person is going to tell you. The other person might tell you, I'm great, I'm fantastic, nothing could be better. But let's face it, during these times, it's unlikely that the person would actually tell you that I'm fine, I'm great. They might actually start really telling you how they are. And so here are a few tips to help you while you're listening to the person. First of all, if a person trusts you enough to really tell you how they're doing, it means that you're a friend. And they will gradually probably reveal more information than what you're expecting. So you want to listen to the person, and we call that active listening. Active listening is when you might say something like, oh, I see, or mm-hmm, or the head nod, to show the person that you're listening. And you might even say, wow, I didn't realize you were going through such a difficult time. You might want to empathize, with the person as the person is talking to you. You might say something like, tell me more. And so the person will feel more and more comfortable to talk to you. So, as you're listening, you might notice yourself getting caught up with the emotions. You might notice yourself getting caught up with the stories and wanting maybe to compare stories, or say, yeah, I'm really going through the same thing. You want to listen. So you might want to notice that you're wanting to do this, but just notice it and continue to listen. You might notice yourself getting frustrated or feeling overwhelmed yourself. So these next tips are mostly for you, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed while listening to your friends talk about how they're really doing. So the first thing is, as you're listening, it's simply to take a breath. Right? As you're listening. I remember I had a client in my office once who, it wasn't about the same question, but he was actually wanting to show me something that he was really proud of. And as he's going through his telephone, it seems to be taking minutes and minutes, but he really wanted to show me something that he was proud of. And I'm noticing myself feeling, frustrated, noticing myself want to tell him, come on already. But because I have been practicing mindfulness, I just decided to take a breath as I was listening and waiting, for him. So this listening and breathing as you're listening, it will be really, really helpful to you. The other thing too is, as you're listening to the other person talk to you about how they're really doing, two things that I'm going to suggest. One is, while you're listening, send them love. So you're listening with compassion. You're listening with love. And they might notice this, or maybe they might not, but you certainly will feel it. You will feel that love that you're sending them. And also, while you're sending them love, send yourself love. So you might, and this is more of a visual thing, but you might want to pretend you have a protective cloth around you, a protective, maybe even a lavender cloth around you, because lavender brings peace, brings calm, right? So you might pretend that you have a lavender cloth around you that is sending you love while you're listening with love. And you might also think that it's taking a long time, but you know what? A minute or two might seem forever when you're simply listening. So don't look at your watch. You know, just be there listening. You might be mindful of your position of your body. So have open arms. You might want to unfold your arms if your arms are folded, or uncross your legs and lean in as you're listening to the person, showing the person that you're listening. Now, you know, these are techniques that we learn when we're counselors, when we're, you know, therapists. I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach, but you know, I worked with kids many years ago that had mental health problems, and I worked with adults that had mental health problems, and I know the importance of showing, you know, the person that I'm listening to that I'm actually listening. So all that to say, I want to say hi. Who's joining me on my live? This is actually an unplanned live. Write your name down so I can see who you are. Really nice to for you to join me. Thank you for joining me. And I'm nearing the end of my live, but if you have any questions about, you know, listening, uh, oh hi, hi Mikael. Thank you for being here. This was an impromptu live. I'm actually doing I was going to say a real live, but all lives are real. I'm actually doing a live on Wednesday, talk about mental health. But, you know, because I've recently sent an email, even to my mailing list to say, how are you? How are you really? And I received a few responses. I thought it would be important enough to address how do we listen, even on an email, you know, because in my case, I received an email and the person was really telling me how she was doing. And I felt a little bit of overwhelm when I was reading the email, but I knew that um, it was an email, you know, which is a completely different experience than when somebody is talking to you. But I wanted to be mindful that I was feeling this. Wow, she's really going through a difficult time. And so, of course, if we're asking our friends, you know, how are you? How are you really? We need to be mindful that it might be pretty heavy, especially now, you know, during these days. And so, using, you know, that loving, that sending them love while we're listening, taking a nice deep breath as we're listening, and of course, making sure that we feel love too. I'm wondering if you've ever gone through something similar, Mikkel. Have you ever asked a friend how you're doing? How are you really doing? Be nice to hear what you have to say about that. Well, I'm glad that you were able to join me, and I'm going to be ending ending this live. If you have any other comments, I'd love to hear them. And if you're listening to this afterwards, after the live is done, please add your comments. Please share what it's like to listen to a friend who might be really telling you what it's like. You know, if we want to be mentally well while we're listening to a friend, and of course, I'm not talking about, you know, a therapist or a counselor, but if you are, you know, of course, this is helpful to you as well. Absolutely, Mikkel. So can you tell me more? I'd love to talk to hear a little bit more about. You say you love listening to people. Can you tell me a little bit more of when you do listen to people? You might be a professional who listens to people. Thank you. I'm just waiting a few seconds here to see if Mikhail wants to add a bit more information. Um, so that was it. You know, it was just a brief live to suggest to you, if you're a listener or if you want to listen or if you want to ask your friend how you're doing, how are you really doing, and you know that the person might be going through a hard time. If you know this, then prepare yourself ahead of time. You know, if you're going to ask somebody, how are you doing? How are you really doing? And you have a feeling this person is going through a difficult time, then know that and prepare yourself. And how you know prepared how to prepare yourself, like I was sharing just a few minutes earlier. Breathing in love, breathing in compassion. Absolutely, Michelle. You know, when you're a goal setting coach, and you know, because of people set goals in different areas of their life, you might have to sometimes uncover a lot before the person can actually say, okay, this is what my goal is. And yeah, listening is really, really important, especially when it's, you know, to help a person discover or uncover what their real goals are, right? If you want their goals to be meaningful, you have to listen a lot. So this is helpful to you too. I'm hoping it's helpful to you too, Mikkel, as you're listening, to take a breath and to send them love, because sometimes, you know, when we're coaching a client, it's not always easy to figure out what to say, how to say it, and what goals to choose. So we might have to send them love, and of course we might have to also, you know, cover ourselves with that layer of lavender that I was sharing, to protect ourselves as well, because it can be quite overwhelming in some cases when we're listening to somebody. Well, that's all I want to say. Thanks for being here. And if you are listening to my video afterwards, please do, you know, write a little note. Let me know how you're doing. And I'm going to be sharing 3 tips on how to maintain. I'm trying to think, what am I doing on Wednesday? I think it is to maintain your well-being or your mental health. So I'm doing that on Wednesday at 12. Now that's scheduled, unlike this one. All right, everybody. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.